You go on here and search for Not My President videos. You see about 80 different channels, all posting videos about whiny Not My President liberals complaining and crying about Trump winning. It's fascinating. And they get about 5,000 views on each of these videos. And what's more fascinating is that if you look, there's about 5,000 people posting Not My President videos from the actual protest and shit like that, and supporting the protest. They get about 80 views. Like the only fucking views that show up on their channels are the ones from the shills. Because that's how many shill channels there are. Unlike them, though, I don't really need my channel. My channel is for the exact people who are viewing it. See, I do things that are handy for anybody who catches this. Like pointing out the obvious hypocrisy here. Like, what would the Donald Trump shills be raving on about right now if, for instance, Hillary Clinton had won the Electoral College and Donald Trump was going to be ahead by 2.5 million votes? And, you can lie and try to make yourselves feel better. And, because all Donald Trump shills have done this entire time is lie. The only reason why people support Donald Trump is because of lies. So why wouldn't you lie that Donald Trump won the fucking popular vote now? Why wouldn't you lie and somehow claim that illegal aliens are allowed to fucking vote somewhere? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Blackberry cheesecake. Yummy. So, the fact of the matter is, you got these fuckers saying that, no, it's not the state websites that are actually counting the fucking votes. And, it's not these people that are, professionally tabulating them, called the media. No, the like news reporters are crunching the numbers based on these state fucking websites and compiling the vote. No, it's not them that have the accurate number. It's this obscure website called World Now or something like that that's probably fucking registered in Russia or some shit. And these people are all saying this crap. That's where you get the real vote number. Oh yeah. And all the different news companies are making it up. Nah. See, the reason why Democrats weren't making it up. Okay, I'm going to turn off my TV so I can stop randomly staring at it. The reason why Democrats weren't making it up when we were saying that there's no voter fraud is because there's a difference between voter fraud and election fraud. Okay, voter fraud is what Republicans counterclaim to cover up the fact that they cheat in almost every election because they have the money. They are the only elites. Republicans are the elite. All right. Democratic elites, it's kind of like, what would you do if you were an activist that made a difference over time and became aware of the national security situation and still needed to make a difference, you'd need a lot of fucking money, influence, power, that kind of thing to do good with. But, that doesn't make you the owner of multiple weapons manufacturers and oil companies and shit like that. So the elite gap is just not comparable. And the false equivalency being rampant these days is just idiotic. That's what it is. It's idiotic. See, election fraud is when the polling place has a corrupt official that changes some shit in the computer or uploads something or lets somebody else in the building or just turns a blight to a car parked outside. There's a lot of different ways to hack any standalone machine. And when foreign governments get involved and news organizations start playing things on your behalf, you got to realize that you're the shill. Okay, because news organizations are playing things like, I could sit this voting machine in the middle of Red Square, Moscow, and wouldn't get hacked. First of all, slow down that guy's statement. You can clearly see he's bullshitting. Okay, and second of all, if you think that somebody saying that is not delusional, you're obviously not a tech person. That guy right there, not a tech person at all. He was an election official. He didn't know anything about fucking hacking. Okay? I've known about hacking since, there was like this thing called hacking. I've been a geek my whole life. My dad built databases, and that's, what I used to sit there and fucking study him doing and shit like that growing up. Back in the 80s, using 9600 baud. Okay? And that was expensive shit too. But anyways, so you got hacking of voting machines on one side. You got bribed election officials on one side. That's election fraud. And you have voter fraud, which is supposed registration of dead people. One, there's like a massive need, okay, which it could, you'd have to have a lot of people actually doing this, and it would be very easy to catch. That's voter fraud. Election fraud, you can affect thousands, if not millions, of votes with the flip of a fucking switch, man. And the idea that Pennsylvania being 68,000 votes, see, the shill, the system, okay, the brainwashing, the zombification, the cluelessness, it's all on Trump's side. You have to really be able to fight your way through the matrix and think with your heart and not your eyes to get with her. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but Bernie, no. Bernie didn't just happen to get popular while Putin was taking over Russia. I mean, Putin, well, yeah, that. Putin was taking over parts of Europe and shit. Okay. Putin's doing this big national expansion, this thing. And we're over here getting switched to socialism. Bernie's getting all popular. All these different little socialist channels are getting funded. They're getting popular all at the same time while Russia's just pushing its way forward, expanding. Putin's increasing the military spending. All he's made sure that everybody's got it memorized that the United States spends more than everybody else. Since everybody got that line of rhetoric, that's changed. Past couple of years, it's not even by any means, but we're reducing military spending. China's reducing military spending. Russia's been drastically increasing military spending, and in fact, only as recently had to stem off their plans for increasing military spending due to Obama's, guess what? Sanctions. See, you don't have to outspend your opponent in military spending if you can make them have less money. See, if I can guarantee that they're not going to have enough money, I don't need to spend that much on my military because they're not going to be able to spend that much on their military. And he's saved us money at the gas pump for years now while improving our economy. And by the way, it's not as though the president really decides that much on military spending. It's kind of the Pentagon gives a needs-based thing, and the White House gives that to Congress. And Congress has been fucking over the military, not the White House. Ted Cruz, especially. Ted Cruz has seriously fucked over the military. Wonder how that works out. So here's my little gift. My happy Thanksgiving gift. My little notes. See, I almost want to like call up Trump Tower and be like, look, I'm still in total opposition to you, but should you for some reason wind up being in the White House, you need to talk to me before you get yourself and the rest of us killed. And for those of you who think I'm arrogant for claiming that, or otherwise, let me just tell you what I would tell them. You know your little guys at the little alt-right conference talking about IQs and the white man's IQ and the Chinese man's IQ. Let me tell you something. An orangutan's IQ is 65. The average orangutan. The average college student's IQ is 120. My IQ is 175. That's not some little online test. That's the state of Texas. Okay? Now, if you wonder why I'm aware of things that most people aren't, consider how you're aware of things that monkeys aren't. Okay, and it's not delusion, it's not arrogance, it's addition and subtraction. Okay, 65, 120, 175. Okay. They're very far apart things. Quite evenly so. And sorry, but a bunch of morons all saying the same thing on YouTube videos matter how many different people say it, it's not going to turn me into a moron. So, after being the person who's helped people my entire life, from feeling bad for certain people and letting them cheat off of me and on tests, to helping people with their fucking homework, to actually teaching my own algebra 1 class. Yeah, I think it was algebra 1 class. I took geometry before algebra 1 or something like that. Oh, it was a middle school credit that didn't transfer over. So I started in geometry and then I wound up having to take algebra again. And I had a teacher. I didn't remember that part of the story last time I told it down. So yeah, I had a teacher who didn't have a lunch break. So I gave him a fucking lunch break. And I taught the algebra 1 class. And it's just like, ever since ever since the last time fucking election got stolen and it led our country to disaster, I've been trying to help people. So I thought back then, you know, you get older. You get wiser. And to that effect, this little list right here. This is a list of what I think Donald Trump learned when he went into the White House and got his real briefing directly from President Obama. Because you see, he thinks he's smarter than the generals, right? And he's got his general friend that was at the RT conference sitting at the table with Putin, ex-general. And he's been refusing to receive national security briefings. I really think that he actually thinks that the Obama administration is lying to him. That American politicians are just, what the shills say they are. What these KGB programmed anarchists that have been giving Donald Trump his news say they are. Because Donald Trump just appointed one of them as his as his made up advisor, as his propaganda minister, as his Goebbels, okay? But we all saw when Donald Trump had his little meeting with Obama, yeah, because he's from Chicago, so I'm gonna call him Obama. Right? Obama, you wanna wash my car with me? Obama. And, he hasn't exactly been a peace dove, has he? Dove. Peace. Prince of Peace. Yona. Yona means dove in Aramaic. Oh. Yona means John in Aramaic. Funny side story. Anyways. So what I think Donald Trump learned when Obama gave him the briefing. And this is the reason why he had that look on his face when he was sitting there holding his hands together like a nervous little child, didn't know what the fuck to think. I'm sure later he concluded, under the advice of Steve Bannon and those other people he surrounds himself with, that Obama was just lying to him, that all our CIA is just corrupt and blah, blah, blah. And that, for some reason, Russia didn't invade Crimea. I mean, basically, the only legal claim that Russia even has to the area would be similar to the, say, migration invasion of Europe that I'm sure Donald Trump isn't a big fan of. But what he found out, and I'm not sure whether or not he was able to divulge it to his unofficial ministers just yet. First thing he found out was that, and this proves kind of, how numb your minds are, is that it's Russia, not China, that equips and supplies North Korea. Okay, China sells them food, and not a whole lot of it. But Russia supplies them with their missile technology, their military technology in general. All Russia, or built in North Korea, but with Russian help. Um, Including the fact that the original war fought over North and South Korea. We weren't going against Chinese pilots, we were going against actual Russian pilots in Russian planes. We had thought otherwise for a very long time, but we found out in 2008 or 9. After the invasion of Georgia, some dissidents within Russia leaked us the information, and that's how we found out. So, number 2 is that more than likely, Islamic. Oh no! Before I get to number 2, before we, Spanish Inquisition needs to pop out and tell you something about that. The mind-numbing thing. Okay, you've been told over and over again that China has helped with sanctions against North Korea. Okay, Clinton got China's help for sanctions North Korea. Bush got China's help with sanctions for North Korea. Obama's met 3 times on, just to my memory. Okay, I think I remember 3 times that Obama has met with China about North Korea. Okay, China's on our side. China does not like North Korea. Okay, like the whole reason, like why we're friends with Japan. It's all very complicated and all goes back to the history of that whole area. And and there is, well, there's an empire to the north of them, just like there's an empire to the north of Europe that wants them to not get along, just like they want Europe to not get along. It's kind of the same thing playing out in a different way, using a different history, but in the same way. Okay, but I've gone into that in previous videos. Not going to that. Number 2, the Islamic um, extremists that became the declared caliphate, which was actually the Al Qaeda in Iraq Ba'athist people. Okay, um, they were reinforced in heavy number by mercenaries who were largely the kind of Chechen Russian military local division, okay, under the command of Kadyrov, and went down there and took Mosul to cover for the downing of MH17. Okay, look at the timeline. 48 hours after MH17 was down, when people were basically saying, okay, Russia just killed 298 civilians aboard an airliner, and Mosul fell. Let's all talk about Islamic State now. And people just stopped talking about Ukraine altogether, and everybody's been talking about Islamic State ever since. So that's how that went. That's the fucking facts of it. I mean, People really weren't concerned about Islamic State. They had no reason to be. It was, in fact, a very varsity team type situation, but also a situation that we were trying to keep played down because of the Assad regime's um, not only Russian support in doing so, but their direct support, the Assad regime support of the Baathists who were doing the roadside bombs and the Baghdad car bombs and shit and killing civilians and American soldiers the entire time we were occupying and trying to reconstruct Iraq. So it was indirectly Russia that was blowing up American soldiers that whole fucking time. I mean, they've been basically sabotaging the whole thing ever since, while promoting the media anti-American Iraq war disaster thing. Okay, like they've made a disaster while capitalizing on it being a disaster in every way. So number three, um, Russian media has historically, I mean, for the past 100 years, been the primary instigator of far right ideological parties in Europe. Okay? And they've done quite a number here too, as well. That is American intelligence. That is what NATO thinks. That is what Interpol thinks. That is what the CIA thinks. Okay? That is not my opinion. My opinions are held in concert with intelligence agencies because, like I said, chimpanzee, college student, my goofy looking ass. And just, granted, that's before, like head injuries and stuff like that, and, alcoholism, from New Orleans. But it's also before I woke up to my previous lives. So, there's balance there. There's balance there. Anyway. Number four, the fourth thing that Donald Trump found out that made his eyes get big. Surprise, the fake news on Facebook um, is not the extent of, it's not quite as smart as the American intelligence apparatus. Yeah, surprise. Um, Number four is the abandonment of communism by the Soviet Union. Okay, this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but those people are also in complete denial of the threat that Russia actually poses, that Vladimir Putin actually poses. Um, Communism is now a burden of the West, while nationalism has become the uh, the hammer against the rock to the grain. Okay, like it's a staged off plan involving the revival of the 7th century interpretation of Islam. Okay, just like Obama said. Smart guy. And using that as sort of a pincer attack, while fomenting not only, the historical uprising, the populist sort of thing that communism has been projecting into America and into Europe over the past, many decades. But now there's the nationalist counterweight that's being not only, you know, uh, uh, encouraged as it has been historically, but it's being met with this um, Dune like savior, okay, of Vladimir Putin, who will, you know, protect you from the enemy that he created, essentially, or that, you know, his empire helped create, did create. And I mean, dude, the Kremlin, the Moscow, mosque. The Kremlin looks like a mosque. The Duma fucking, was it, isn't the government building also looks like a mosque. You mean to tell me those minarets, it's just coincidence that they use minarets there? It's just coincidence that it's called Moscow. It's just coincidence that they have more Muslims in their army than they have population in their country, percentage wise. These are just coincidences, right? It's just coincidence that, you know, every Islamic extremist ever has carried an AK-47. You know, this is just coincidence. Okay. Anyways, number 5. Sorry, this is getting longer than I thought it was. Um, the Amber Alert system and why it was actually created, which was not just to address random kidnapping, it's to address a concerted network of child enslavement that very much relates to all of this and the war on terror. And you might get a little more understanding of this with exactly how ISIL has been known to recruit teenage girls online, for instance. Just for instance. So, number 6, he learned that he wasn't fucking president yet. That election day is a ceremonial, arbitrary, you know, deadline, basically. Um, it is not the last day that votes are received. It is not the last day that votes are counted. And with early voting, it is becoming less and less the main day that people vote on. There were, I think it was 45 million early votes. Yeah, that whole time we thought Hillary was going to win. That was 45 million out of the what 130 million total. Yeah, and now she's 2.5 million ahead. Just imagine what Trump supporters would be saying if the Electoral College went to Hillary and Trump was ahead 2.5 million votes. I think they'd be whining a bit more. And I don't think that liberals would be complaining that much because we would all objectively agree that yes, the popular vote's the fucking popular vote. But right now, smart people are afraid to talk to idiots because we know they won't listen. And by idiots, I mean Trump supporters. And I'm not apologizing for that because, as far as I'm concerned, you're either morons, traitors, or racists. There is no fucking in between for me. And I can back that up. Not a single person on the planet could possibly successfully argue that point with me. Okay? Obviously, racists, you know, hail Trumpler, whatever. Okay? The traitor thing should be obvious too. You prefer Russia? You prefer Putin? more than you prefer Obama. You prefer dictatorship more than you prefer democracy. That makes you a traitor. Okay? And if you're an idiot, one of these people who's, I'm not racist, I just support Trump for economic reasons, that makes you an idiot because you're willing to, A, forget the fact that he's completely full of shit. B, forget the fact that everything he's accused of his opponent of, he's literally done in the past week, including pay for play, including using charitable donations, oh God, I mean, just the corruption that he's shown just in the past couple of weeks is staggering. And us, smart people, us liberals, I'm not even a fucking liberal. What am I saying? But us intellectuals, we're trying to warn you. Blah blah blah. I'm not racist. But while you were failing to realize that your supposed claim of objectivity is completely invalid, you're also failing to live up your moral responsibility of not supporting a fucking racist or a traitor. So that's why I say you're an idiot. Sorry. That is my objective analysis. I don't put emotion into that. So, number 6, he learned that he wasn't really president yet. Because until the Electoral College votes, he's not really president yet. So guess what? The election isn't over yet. He hasn't been elected. He's only officially president-elect between the time the Electoral College votes and January 20th. And actually, president-elect doesn't mean anything. But at the point the Electoral College votes, if he is the one that they vote for, that's when I'll concede defeat. That's when he will be, unfortunately, successful in his overthrow of our government. I won't concede the fact that it was, I won't concede it as an election because it's not an election. He is not being elected. He's being installed. It's not a matter of proving whether or not a voting machine was hacked here or there. It's not a matter of if it was a rigged election. It's not a matter of if he cheated or if Russia cheated on his behalf. It's a matter of how many different ways in which they cheated. It's a matter of could you even possibly, if you found 50 different ways, if you found evidence of 50 different incidences that Russia completely altered the election outcome, you would know that it still didn't cover all the things that they've done to make this election completely illegitimate. This election is completely illegitimate. The only way it can be legitimized is by the election of Hillary Clinton. And the Electoral College serves no purpose if they do not do exactly that. Because their only purpose at this point would be to circumvent democracy. If they circumvent democracy on behalf of a tyrant, instead of going, as according to the Federalist Papers, in opposition of a tyrant, to prevent a tyrant who has allegiances to foreign powers, who owes debts to foreign powers, okay, who takes gifts from foreign powers. Already, he's not even in office yet, he's already taken gifts. If they vote in favor of usurping democracy by going against the Federalist Papers, they have completely betrayed the Constitution and the public trust, and they should, in fact, be disbanded. And if we want to continue to have an electoral system, we need to make it clear that those electors are to be briefed according to the facts, and if lies and foreign involvement and corruption and voter suppression all cause an election to be invalid, it should be the elector's responsibility to restore the American public's trust in democracy by setting things right and protecting us from tyranny. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the little thumbs up thing. Peace.